99.9% of all natural productivity on Earth is derived from the sun. From the clothes we wear to the cars we drive, it's all dependent on that relatively small gaseous ball. So how would we fare if that sun suddenly disappeared? Of course, we know that the sun won't simply disappear. It will die out billions of years from now in a fiery explosion, but let's discuss this anyway. If the sun were to disappear, we wouldn't know about it for the first 8 minutes and 20 seconds. This is because light travels at 180,000 miles per second, and the distance between Earth and the sun is 93 million miles. So, those watching the sunrise or sunset would continue to watch a sun that didn't exist. And then panic would ensue. The star that we had known all our lives would vanish. People would have no idea what had happened, or what to do. It would be night time, all the time. Of course, we could still use man-made light, but that would only last so long. The light supplied by the universe would be 1/300th of a full moon. Because gravity waves propagate at the same speed as light waves, we would lose the sun's gravitational influence at the same time we lost its light. The Earth would fly off in a flight path tangent to its current orbit. On the other hand, photosynthesis would stop immediately. As you know, photosynthesis is what recycles carbon dioxide and oxygen. But don't worry. The human population inhales 6 trillion kilos of oxygen each year, while the atmosphere contains 1 quintillion kilos of oxygen. So, we would have oxygen for thousands of years. The plants wouldn't fare so well though. Within days, small plants would die. Large plants, however, have stores of glucose that would theoretically allow them to live in darkness for years. Their threat would be the cold. The water inside them would freeze over, much before they died of starvation. Today, the average surface temperature on Earth is 14 degrees Celsius. This is an average, including hot places and cold places. Now that the sun is not adding heat to the atmosphere, the Earth would radiate away heat exponentially. After the first week, the global surface temperature would be freezing. But temperatures like this happen all the time. Apart from fear and chaos, we could get by for the first few months. But, after the first year, the temperature would have dropped to negative 73 degrees Celsius. How would we humans survive? Could we survive? Well, let's break it down. Most of our heat comes extraterrestrially, in other words, comes from the sun. So our chances look bleak. But, I said that most of our heat comes from the sun. So where would this second source be? Well, the answer lies inside us, and by inside us, I mean the Earth. Geothermal locations like Yellowstone or Iceland would be our best option. These locations would provide enough heat for humans to continue inhabiting Earth. But, space would be a problem. The reason these geothermal locations would be safe havens to us is Earth's interior. 20% of Earth's internal heat comes from the fact that when Earth was formed, matter was crushed together so tightly that it liquefied rock. The other 80% comes from the radioactive decay that occurs deep in Earth's core. These processes keep Earth's temperature at toasty 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit. 1 to 3 years later, the world's oceans would have frozen over. The top layer would be ice. But ice is less dense than water, which means it would float, like an iceberg. The Earth's liquid water would remain liquid for billions of years. It would be protected from space by miles of ice above it, and warmed from underneath by hydrothermal vents, spewing Earth's interior heat. 10 to 20 years later, a layer of dew would appear on everything. But this dew is not condensed water, it is condensed air. It would be so cold that the air we breathe would condense to its liquid form at around -297 degrees Fahrenheit. It would then precipitate as snow. In Fritz Leiber's science fiction story, A Pail of Air, this has already happened. A family must go outside in a special suit and collect the oxygen snow and bring it inside to boil over a fire so that they can breathe. Remember how liquid water still exists on Earth? Well, this is because ice is a good insulator. The top layer of ice would keep just enough heat to keep some of Earth's water liquid. This occurrence is what gives life on Earth a final chance. Extremophiles, like archaebacteria, would still survive without the sun. They live near hydrothermal vents, far below the point where sunlight can reach. Instead of using photosynthesis, they use chemosynthesis. These extremophiles deposit minerals back into the vents, meaning that their food cycle is complete and independent of the sun. Earthlings like them would live on, not knowing that the sun had disappeared, or even existed in the first place. So, if the sun disappeared, life would go on. The Earth would be a spaceship flying out in space carrying living passengers. Earth would have enough geothermal energy to last billions of years. When the Earth left its orbit, it would be traveling at 30 kilometers per second. Meaning that within 1 billion years, it would have covered 900 quadrillion kilometers, or 100,000 light years. This trip could potentially take Earth across the Milky Way, past thousands of stars, and who's to say Earth couldn't fall into orbit around one? If Earth found a new star, it would slowly thaw out, and maybe, just maybe, those bacteria at the bottom of the ocean could start the evolutionary process all over again.